We're very lucky today to have a guest on to talk to us, which is Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hello, hello. Pleased to
Uh,
be here.
yeah, we're all present and correct. We've had loads of problems with Zoom, but Claire is a NHS whistleblower. And Claire, I wonder if you would just give us a little introduction into what you've been doing. I know you were whistleblowing well before the whole COVID thing began. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yep. So I'm I started off. I qualified in 1999. My background was acute respiratory, medical conditions, chronic disease, and I've really continued with that for 26 years. I've worked across all settings of health, so acute NHS, GP practices, community care, nursing homes, and everything like that. And then in around 2015, I went into a care home while I had my children. Everything was fine. I went on maternity leave, went back. There was a new manager that had taken over, and everything. Oh, it was disgusting. There was the patients were being treated appallingly. There was neglect, and there were deaths. Lots of things, lots of bullying going on. And I whistleblew, went through all the correct channels, went through social workers, police, everything, the NMC, CQC. Oh my God, what a nightmare. They basically all stood by the care home, all stood together, sat me on 5 counts of gross misconduct. So I took it to court with the Royal College of Nursing. And in 2017, I actually won the biggest whistleblowing case in a care home in the UK. Well, so you'd think. And I actually rang the council, Derbyshire County Council it was, that were involved, and said, you need to reopen the case, because all these people actually lived in my village as well, which made it really difficult. All the workers, all the patients' families, everything. So my life was pretty much living hell for quite a long time. So I took it back to the council and social workers and said, look, I've won in court. This is what they've said. Something needs to be done about it. They got the memo, and the police and social workers were involved in those decisions anyway. So they started attacking me in a different way then. So they started going through my children. So they started removing my children. So they were removed 6 times in total. With no policy, no procedure, no court order. I actually had a court order myself for one of them, which they totally denied, and everything else. Things went missing from the paperwork. I had the court order stolen from my house. I've actually located it now. But I went through social worker, senior complaints at the council. I went through CQC, the NMC, the RCN, the police, the IOPC. Went right up to government level. I went around 3 times complaining through all the systems, explaining to them what was going on, explaining what was happening. I even took it to serious crime. I reported a hate crime with the police because they were severely abusing me in my own home as well, not just with my children, but other ways, to a point that I had to leave my home for a year and a half. But in that time as well, I developed the solutions for respiratory disease, so which was asthma and COPD. So I started talking about all of this all over social media, trying to get them to stop, because I knew this information, and it would have literally ended these were 2 of the biggest global health burdens in the world, and it would have really ended the crisis and problems that we had, and saved taxpayers 90% less costs, saved the NHS and everything else. So I started bartering with these solutions, and it just made it a hell of a lot worse. So then I had big pharma and police and government and everything. They were all literally crashing down on me for a long time. I took them to the World Health Organization and government in October 2019. And 3 weeks later, we got the pandemic.
They don't actually want cures, do they? They don't actually want solutions, particularly to respiratory, considering what we were just about to move into at the end of 2019.
Exactly. That was bad timing, wasn't it? Can you imagine?
Ruined all their plans. But well, it's interesting. Sorry, Claire, what are you saying?
to expose that in October 2019, and they were solutions the World Health Organization asked for in 2015. I developed them over and above. It would have taken everyone off all of the oral medications completely, returned them back to good health, we could have prevented COPD happening in the future, and it would have taken a lot of people off the chronic disease and disability registers. And then 3 weeks later to develop a respiratory pandemic and still ignore them was, it gave me PTSD. To be honest, I'd coped with enough with the children, with the whistleblowing, to find out that things weren't as they seemed in something that I dedicated my life to for 26 years. It literally broke me. Yeah.
Is that the first time you realised that there might be an agenda underneath?
No, I've always known there was corruption. I've always known it was wrong. But I've always practiced correctly. I've always done the right thing. It just got more and more difficult to do that because I was forever battling with people, and those battles just got bigger, as you can see.
Yeah.
They just progress. But what I did believe was that it was due to poor leadership, government intervention, and poor leadership, and people had just become that way because of, you know, those reasons. I didn't realise the actual government intervention and the bad leadership was with intent. No, I didn't know.
And it's interesting what you're saying about the, I can't remember what it's called, COPD, because I went for a checkup or something because me and Tash were both ill. I think we were targeted earlier this year, but we both ended up having checkups just to make sure. And I refused a PCR, so they wanted to give me a gastric thing, but I ended up having a CAT scan of my whole torso.
Because you had to die, didn't you?
Yeah. And they said to me, well, firstly they told me that I had a blood clot on my lung, and then when I went actually in for the appointment to start my treatment, they told me I didn't have a blood clot on my lung, but I did have the beginnings of
mild COPD, didn't you?
I don't have any of the symptoms at all. They forced a prescription for a thingy. What do you call those? Inhaler, which I'm not.
No, brown one, wasn't it? Preventative.
Yeah, preventative. Yeah, because I'm not suffering from breathlessness or whatever, which I haven't bothered with. I'm not going to do that. And yeah, it was just. It's just incredible, really. It was like she was desperate to get me onto an inhaler,
to get you onto a disease register as well, because it obviously generates the money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I found that because I ended up in one position just in around it was in 2017 when I actually developed these solutions. I was working in a role where I was doing pop-up clinics for GPs around the country. So we were doing pop-up asthma and COPD clinics, and training GPs and practice nurses as well as doing their patient reviews. And that company that I was working for was as a respiratory specialist, but indirectly for big pharma. Well, that was the role where I actually discovered what was going on and developed the solutions. But I took them. I was this naive at the time. I took them to big pharma.
Ask you what the solutions were. Were they a holistic solution?
So they're 100% science-based solution. So there are people do put out holistic therapies. Now I have trained since in lots and lots of holistic and healing therapies, and most of my therapies are 100% natural now. In fact, they all are. However, in respiratory disease, what I discovered was, and it was 100% science proof. I tested it for a year and it was 100% correct each time. So you can't take these people off the minimum dose. I can get them down to minimum dose inhaled steroid, but I wouldn't confidently suggest, or even, no, I wouldn't even suggest, to be honest, that people come off that at all. Because what has happened is, what I did discover, there is a different kind of COPD, which is genetic, so that's a completely different ball game. But the general COPD that people do have, it was unmanaged asthma, and it's man-made, and it's because of untreated, uncontrolled asthma. So they used to say COPD was a smoking-related condition. Well, it's absolutely not, because there are non-smokers that have got COPD very, very severely. So smoking will, if you've got uncontrolled asthma, you develop COPD and you're smoking, you're going to be very, very sick. If you've just got the asthma, depends on the severity of your symptoms as to how sick and disabled you will get. But this is why the burden has increased so dramatically. But I can get them off of all, every other medication and tablet that they're on, basically. But I would never tell them to go on to an alternative therapy. They don't work. I've tried.
No, so basically the COPD is undiagnosed asthma, so you still have to treat the root cause, which is the asthma. So that would, blue and brown inhalers, basically.
And the asthma as well, it's been around, since before Christ, asthma. So it's not vaccine related. I know that for a fact. We've got to look at the actual facts and the science. And this is, and I am fully trained on alternative therapies, but I'm very, very careful about which therapies that I would pick and advise for people, because the science is there for a reason. It's if it's used well. The problem is science in respiratory care, which is why I took so much interest in it for 26 years. I was absolutely hell-bent on finding out what was going on, because nobody knew, and the research that came out, it was just crazy, and it wasn't getting us anywhere, but worse. The situation was just getting worse. I mean, I practiced it for many, many years and did my absolute 100% best, read all the research, knew everything that we needed to do, and what I did, because I was 100% on it, it made a difference, but not enough. And then I realized you can just make this really quick difference. And people aren't getting that care that they need. So they're not getting it from their GPs. They're not getting it from the hospitals. I've taken it to NHS England. People need to start asking why this is not adopted. So we've actually now set up a new clinic. We've put the test site in Bradford. It's on Bolton Road in Bradford. We've had to have a name change. It was called DeFi Health Solutions. It's now called Dedicated Health Solutions, but you'll still go through on both names anyway. To the website, but and that's going to be franchised out, but it's also going to be what we're doing there is 100% whole body, whole person health, healing, education, and therapies that I've picked and chosen very, very carefully based on my health knowledge, the scientific knowledge, and what I've found, because there are some absolutely great things out there. Lots of things can be reversed, and in those clinics I will still continue to do research with people that have chosen their own holistic route, because I will know if they've still got asthma or COPD. So I call those people in and maybe assess their respiratory function and health and see if any of these solutions are working, but I would pretty much guess not, to be honest.
And do you think asthma is like an autoimmune problem? Do you think it's something in the environment that's causing it, that's made it get so much worse? Or
Obviously it's triggered by the environment. So there are lots and lots of triggers. Lots of people are more allergic now. The environment's a lot worse. But this condition, asthma and COPD, have been documented for many, many years. So COPD was even documented. Smoking's been around a long, long time. But asthma is documented as far back as BC. Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if it's okay listening to, many people think lots of things are vaccine related. I'm not promoting the vaccines either right now. I've never been against vaccines before. I'm fully vaccinated. However, I'm not promoting this one, as I know things aren't right, things were different, and again I whistleblew again on that. But
it's not even technically a vaccine, is it? Anyway,
no,
totally different.
No, it's not.
Something else.
It's not stored like a vaccine. It's not. Who's ever heard of frozen vaccines? Who's ever heard of you need a vaccine every 3 months? This is just
crazy stuff,
ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely crazy stuff. So what did you do when you whistleblew about the vaccines then, or the COVID?
So I went everywhere. In March, in the lockdown one, I stuck, because I had 16,500 global leaders on LinkedIn. I went on there begging for my life. I was picked up by the Americans, actually. I needed to get out of the UK at the time, because the UK were just coming down on me so badly, and I was shouting out about what UK government were doing, and all over social media. And I was picked up by some Americans on there who were real big branding experts and influencers, and they helped me, which sort of it took the heat off me in the UK a lot, actually. At that point, that's when things really stopped. So I was exposing lots of things. They were I couldn't even write at that time because I've got severe PTSD. I'm a first class honours degree. I've got 5 degrees in health, but I just couldn't even string a sentence together. So they were asking me loads of questions about different things, and I was exposing what I knew, the things, there's lots of things that I could say that were wrong, really. In March, in lockdown 1, I knew what would happen because obviously I'd been through the whole thing with the children. So I not only developed the respiratory solutions, I went on to do mental health in lockdown 1, but they had to be government led. So they had to be top down, and they would have totally changed everything for everyone around the world. I offered those for free to get my children back. I was begging for my children back. Then I developed, when I was doing the care of the elderly whistleblowing, I developed solutions to prevent elderly being abused in care, because I recognised what was happening, saw that these systemic abuse was rife in most care homes, and people just weren't aware. I realised the causes and effects of it and developed solutions for that. When my children were taken, I developed solutions to prevent social workers and social services doing this to people and families again, because again it was another thing where I found out that this is like really common around the country. People, I thought, God, how can this happen? And I'm thinking, if this can happen to me, I mean, who the hell else can they do it to? And there's hundreds and thousands of genuine people out there that are screaming the same problem. But they ignored that. Then the police were abusing me as well. So I developed systems to prevent. So they were all basically to end corruption, end abuse, and the badness in the systems. And they would have been really watertight. So there was no wriggle room. But obviously, corruption is what the systems are used for, and the money and the whatever else they're getting. It's not as we believe it to be.
Definitely not. Would you be happy to share with us how you managed to get your children back?
Yeah, we do have a lot of people contact us, very similar.
Yeah.
No paperwork, the doors kicked in and their children are taken, which I assume is what happened to you. And they just, the system is so corrupt, but obviously we're always looking for solutions and we're always looking for ways of helping people. So we're really interested to know how you did get your children back.
Right. So, like I say, I refused to go to court because I had a court order. I did apply to the court, actually, in Derby initially, very soon for my first one. But they took my money, took the fee, and I never heard from them again. And also my paperwork went missing, so I spent a long time tracking that down. So they will move things and misplace things when it suits them. I recorded everything anyway, because I did nurse, to be honest, and that's how I won most of my cases, because I worked independently as a nurse most of the time, and I was isolated with a lot of people that were together. So any evidence that I felt I needed to collect, I did actually collect that, but in a manner where I wasn't recording patients, just paper maybe, or documents that I might need to rely on later. So I
record all your evidence, is what you're saying. Keep all your evidence, record everything. Yeah.
So copies of everything, only ever speak to them in writing. If I was recording them in secret, I was telling them I was recording them afterwards, but I was like, I'm recording all of your calls. I even recorded a call where they said to me, if you don't shut the F up about your oldest child, we'll take your youngest. And I said, well, you'll need a case for that. They went, don't worry about that, we'll get one. And then they took him.
Wow.
Took him. He was only 5.
Uh-uh.
He's still now. Yeah, heartbreaking. And they did it another 3 times, because technically, I took them back on 6 occasions, 3 each child separately. And so that's, in effect, if they'd taken him legally, that's kidnap. I should have been arrested. But no, they just came and moved them again. Yeah. So I went round all their procedures, all their policies, their stupid complaint systems, which they'll ignore. They'll ignore your phone calls. They'll ignore your letters. They'll wait till you've run out of time. They will ignore everything you do. They won't find any fault anywhere. But the amount of paperwork you get, it's all there. The evidence is all there against them anyway. So I just thought, let them hang themselves. So I went around doing that. I got the PTSD, spent a long time recovering from that through I had hypnotherapy. And obviously I do a lot of my own healing now. I've managed to get myself with help out of that stage. So I really focus on self-care a lot now. But then, yeah, I thought I'm going to get out one last time. I thought I'm going to really do this. And I just thought I'm sick of going through these systems. The systems are failing. They're not working. I know that. So I started going for individuals at the top. So I started holding people that I was writing to personally accountable and telling them what I was holding them accountable for. And I said, I want a new social worker. And I immediately, after about 5 times, he kept saying to me, stop writing to me. I said, I'm not going to stop writing to you. I'm holding you. I don't care what your role is. I'm holding you personally accountable. You know about this. This is happening. I got 2 new social workers. I said, right, I'm recording the meeting. My oldest son had only got taken by police 2 days before. I said, I'm recording the meeting. They came in. They sat there, went, right, there's my child arrangements order, because I'd actually located it as well. I managed to find it in a different area. I went, there's my child arrangements order. There's the court papers from the care of the elderly abuse that I've already proved your counsel did. And I said, there was a whole load of other papers that I gave them, and they went away, and they just handed them back 2 days later. No, and I said, I don't care who comes and monitors me. I don't care who does what, but as long as they're genuine. I never heard from them again.
Really?
And that was December the 27th last year. Yeah.
So the key is to hold somebody personally accountable and
Personally
keep
liable.
going with that person, for that person, because they all hide behind their titles and their jobs, don't they? And
and their organisation. And their governing bodies.
So the key there is to hold somebody personally accountable. That's interesting, isn't it, Tash?
And did you write all of your own letters, and everything that you did to them was all from?
Never got a solicitor involved. There's no, I'm not paying for legal fees. I'm not paying for this, but I am following it through. I'm going to hold them all personally accountable with equity law. I'm going to be fining them for the damages as well. They're not aware of this yet, but that's the
next stage.
Really, yeah, I'm not going with the systems that I know are corrupt. They're not working. I'll follow through doing exactly the way I'm doing it now that I believe is right. And they will have to. I'm going to take the leaders of the police and council first, and then I'm going to take every single social worker and police that were involved in my case, which is quite a lot of people.
That's incredible. And like you say, you've heard nothing since you got them back, and
not a peep. Not a peep.
Interesting, isn't it?
They know I'll come back, because in 2015 I told them I'd go back over care of the elderly, and I mean that's still not put to bed yet, because they basically, the ombudsman said when I actually sent the evidence to them that I was correct, they said, oh well, you're out of time now. But you can't put out of time on people's lives, to be honest.
No.
They're not going to put out of time on my children's lives either, or mine, and I won't let them. But I'm not going to let it ruin my life or my children's life now. I'm focusing on moving forward, because we've got some fabulous solutions, not just in health, but wealth, education and housing solutions that we're doing, and they're going out around the world. They're really going to make a huge difference to people's lives, because I'm working in an ecosystem. So I've got a lot to look forward to. But I believe when I hold these people personally accountable and prove to others that you can do this, because I know as a nurse, I had to have my own indemnity insurance. And if whatever I did wrong, if a doctor said to me, I've prescribed this, you give it to that patient, I know 1000%, and I have done for 26 years, that doctor is not responsible. Big Pharma is not responsible, and the government isn't. I am.
You are, yeah.
I've never given anything that I'm not happy to give. Don't get me wrong, maybe I have made mistakes over the years as my knowledge progressed. I wouldn't do now what I have done in the past, maybe, but I never became a nurse prescriber. I believed it was the worst thing that they ever did. We've got enough prescribers. In chronic disease, I used to manage chronic disease perfectly, and people would be removed from medicines, not put on them.
Exactly. That's the whole point in being a good nurse, especially in those sort of, chronic diseases that people have. It's about reducing the medication, isn't it, and getting them to a better place. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it worked every time. And sometimes you needed to swap things, but the GPs trusted me, the doctors trusted me. I just used to say, can I have this? Can I have that? And, if I needed to swap things. But I don't also believe that you can jump from big pharma to, natural therapies either. That's going to kill as many people as anything else. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous for people to think that can happen. And that's why I never promote treatments. I never promote anything that I'm really doing. Particularly, I don't ever give health advice over social media. I've never done it in 26 years, even though I've got a lot of advice to give. It's absolutely dependent on that person, that patient.
Yeah.
They have so many things going on, and I know that you can. If I say to you, oh, all of you go and do this, which I could in respiratory disease, it would be a real big mistake for a lot of people.
Yeah.
They've got other things going on.
Yeah.
And you can't recommend treatments like that, which is, so I'm pretty anti all of the social media, let's do this, let's do that, because they're so vulnerable and they'll jump on anything.
Yeah,
and don't realize
that, won't we? That sort of thing. It's the vulnerable people that end up signing up to these things, and their health potentially getting worse, and also just losing a lot of money as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do have health products which I've looked for a very, very long time. They're 100% natural and everything like that, but I don't actually promote them for chronic, for disease or anything like that, because you can't do that. The people need a lot more help. They need a lot more support. And that's what the clinic's about, is to go back to basics, get to understand the patient, the conditions, and start retraining people. So when I've done the model clinic, there were training packages going out so nurses can take them or whatever, and they can actually go back to how they really, really should be when they're caring for patients and understanding the individual. Yeah. And there's nobody knows a patient better than themselves, and I've always believed that.
That's very true. And there is that thing, if you've got these chronic illnesses, chronic is long-standing. You can't just fix those sort of things. It's a mixture of everything. So there's mental health involved, there's physical health, there's diet, absolutely everything. You need a holistic approach.
It's holistic,
to it.
Yeah. Nursing should be holistic, shouldn't it?
So that's what we're doing in the clinic. We're working on mental health, relaxation, because obviously the body's very acidotic and disease prone if people are in a poor mental state and they're not relaxed and they don't take time to relax. And we're promoting sleep, great diet. We can do a lot of healing with diet, and we've got other systems and solutions which are optional for people to take, but it will generally be proper medical advice. And then obviously the respiratory solutions as well, we can fully educate respiratory patients on those.
That's good.
But I mean, I had
like complementary, so basically you have your sort of pharmaceutical side, if you like, the conventional side, and then you can have the complementary things can fit in between, like diet and your exercise.
Everyone that comes in about any chronic disease, they will be offered a totally holistic package, so we can address a little bit of everything in their treatment plan, so that they can educate them to do that on their own as well. So we're not there to give them a massage every week or anything like that. It's about teaching them. We'll be teaching them the skills that they need to mentally focus, to sleep well. So we'll show them, and then they go away and practice. So we're not there doing constant
pampering
little constant little things for them. It's literally they'll get the health education they need, they'll get the dietary education they need, they'll get practices on how to manage their own physical and mental state, and take that away and just carry on working on that, and if they want to come back and if they want to try anything else, that's fine. I will be partnering with some great people who've got great products and things if they choose to do those, but the clinic is all about education on how to literally change your whole life and your health.
And that's surrounding COPD and asthma, the two.
And everything, chronic illness, yep. So mental health, chronic disease, everything. It's about changing their life, their whole life, financial, so they can cope with their financial life better, their home life, their family life, their relationships, everything. Oh. Yeah, it's whole body, whole body.
A bit like sort of a health life coaching type thing, isn't it? Sort of.
Absolutely, but with really good, really quick solutions.
Oh, fascinating.
Sounds amazing. And we'll put your links underneath the interview, your contact links, if anyone's interested, because it sounds like this is the way we've talked about it. This is the way that healthcare has to move now, you know, where we just haven't been, we've been born into a world where you're sick and you just go to the doctor and say, fix me, and expect a prescription, rather than looking at what you might be doing in your life that's caused that stress on your body, which is then manifested in
chronic illness,
whatever it is. So it's sort of, what you're doing is really pioneering the beginnings of that new healthcare system, where we take responsibility for our own health instead of passing it over to a doctor. Basically, just to recap, this is like how we've got to move forward as a society, is to have a completely different attitude to healthcare, and not be passing the responsibility over to someone else, but actually work with someone else to make our own changes and look after our own health.
And is this a model that you could give to other parts of the country who might have little hubs of things where they're wanting to do something similar?
Yeah, so we're doing the Bradford clinic is just a test hub. So all the systems and models are being created there. There are lots of other really amazing things coming in as well for more serious cases where they might want different support and treatments. They will be available if they choose to do that. But again, it's a personal choice. It's not a recommendation for anything. But yes, so the solutions that we do will be replicated. It's going out into a franchise model around the UK and around the world. Yeah. We've actually got countries on board, because I'm part of an ecosystem, and we do health, wealth, education and housing solutions, which are really quite incredible. So if anyone wants to hear any more about that, they can contact us, for more information. But it really is amazing. We've got entire countries on board with what we're doing.
Oh, incredible, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's amazing. I know you've had a really horrific time, but amazing stuff has come out of you not giving up, but B, then you've taken your knowledge and your experience and what's happened to you, and actually starting to create something to stop it happening for other people, re-educate people, and protect people.
Protection, fantastic.
So
I've met some of the
education.
With these people than working with the World Health Organization and government, that's for sure, because these people have all got amazing work ethic, and they really care about people. So it's just the right place for me, right at the right time, and what's coming, like everything good is really coming to us. It's just arriving now. We're manifesting, I think. So it's awesome.
We're manifesting massively.
Amazing stuff. So just quickly going back to when you won your court cases for the whistleblowing before, was that done in one of their normal horrible courts, or did you approach that a bit differently as well?
So I was a Royal College of Nursing member, because obviously I was a nurse at the time, and I took it through with them. It took me 18 months to convince them that I had a whistleblowing case, actually. Even though I had all the evidence there in writing from the people involved. But what happened, I'll tell you what happened, but they did this in care of the elderly and the children. So this is something you've got to be very mindful of when you're doing anything like this. What the government, the councils, the systems will do is they will make the story so obscenely crazy, which they did on both occasions. It's if you heard the story, I mean, I wouldn't have believed it myself had I not written it down in the end. It was that stupid. So when you're writing the statements, the story is absolutely crazy, even though you've got all of the facts there. So I would advise, looking back now on the situations I went into, would be to not necessarily, when you've made your complaint, find a way to deal with it where you minimize that contact and allow them or enable them to do the whole crazy thing. So if you say in the children case or any other whistleblowing case, to be honest, once you've made that initial complaint and contact, you've got your evidence, just get your evidence together and just go straight to a court. Do not, I mean, I wouldn't even go to the courts with my children because I knew I had a court order. I knew the courts were going to set me up if I went. And even though I had the evidence, I knew that they would set me up. In the Royal College of Nursing case, that was different at the time. But like I say, I've got another case with the NMC now, and I'm not working with the Royal College of Nursing this time.
So what you're saying then is, once you put your complaint in, have minimal contact. Don't engage.
Don't go back.
Don't allow that. You make your statement very clear in writing. You send it to that person. Well, that one person will send you back something. Pick someone very high up in the leadership, so the police inspector, the council leader, or whatever. You pick that one person and you just keep writing that same letter. You know this information. Don't get involved with those complaints. Do the initial complaint via the 3 process, that they will play you around so much, they will send you so crazy that by the time you get to whatever point, you can't cope. You just can't cope.
Which is what they do. It's by design, isn't it?
So it's like, yeah, they're trying to break you down as a person, but also fudge everything with all ridiculous communications back and forth that then take away from the original complaint.
And then they're ridiculing the original complaint as well. They're making it seem ludicrous, aren't they?
And when you've done, they'll say, "Oh, you've run out of time."
That's what they do, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what they did with the care of the elderly. Sent me on a wild goose chase to court, and I won, and then those people still suffered. The families did anyway.
Mm.
And I mean, I think with what's gone on over the last couple of years, people are much more aware of what is going on in elderly care homes now. But you blew the whistle well before that, didn't you?
Oh yes, 2015. But I'd been tackling corruption in the systems, poor leadership. I've been like that since 2009. I've been totally patient focused. I only cared about the patients, didn't care about anyone I worked with. I mean, I did, but they weren't my priority. Leadership, no, that wasn't. I didn't agree with any of that. It's just crazy. It's all crazy. It's about those people at the bottom at the end of the day. That's what it is. It's about the nurse and the patient and what they do. The system is an absolute joke. It really is.
Yeah,
it's just got bigger. It started failing when the government brought in a different complaint system in the NHS, and that's what led us from having 3 people in a back room dealing with complaints in the NHS. And if we did anything wrong, we admitted it. We spoke to the patient, we treated them appropriately, we got them immediate medical attention if it was a drug error, and things like that. You saw a manager, you were assessed as to whether you needed more support training or whatever. End of problem. That would have been it. We had 3 people in a cupboard. The government decided to put out a national media campaign about complaints in the NHS. They put stickers on every window, door, telephone, everything in the hospital saying you can complain on this number. That was it.
Just
the end of the NHS.
Concept. Yeah.
It took me absolutely years to even wonder why they did that in the first place. They were trying to fix something that wasn't broken. It was perfect, and everyone was working in fear then, and I think they've worked in fear ever since.
Yeah.
Well, and if you put people into fear, they're so much easier to control, aren't they? So when you left then you saw it. You didn't like it, did you?
No, I didn't
like
it.
On?
I didn't like everything just had a price, didn't it?
The nurses that are the real nurse, what I call the real nurses, like you don't give a shit about your bosses, and you know it is about the patient and doing a good job and being a good nurse. You've all left.
They have, I've got a few friends who are still nursing, but they're all giving the altering jab and stuff. I can't really be friends with them properly anymore. You know,
all the best ones have left or are retired or former nurses because they can't stand it. You know, and it's changed so much now. But the thing is, now all the good ones have left, so whatever is going on in there, it is just normal to them, and they are just do as you're told kind of people.
Yeah.
And it's the same when they bring in all the nurses from abroad, because they aren't very, very well educated. They're way more highly trained than us, actually, have much better training, and they're very good nurses, but they are very compliant.
Yeah.
Well, and
So
I've had issues because my dad's been in and out of hospital for a year now since he had, and you know, with all due respect, you know, I really am grateful for the good care that he has had, but a lot of the nurses, there's just a bit of a language barrier. Like, we're trying to explain quite a complex situation that my father's been in, because there's layers of different medical problems, aren't there, Tash? And I know that they haven't.
It's getting lost in translation.
It gets lost in translation, and there's been a few times where I've thought, you know, I'm really grateful for them being there, because I don't know if the NHS would be running without the people that we have that have come over from other countries. But it can be dangerous if someone can't understand what's being said. It can be really dangerous. And there've been a few times where, you know, something's happened which has just purely been because I've not been understood, and then they're about to start a treatment or do something which is going to counteract with something else. So I always feel that when he's in hospital, I just want him out, because I just feel like I've had to intervene so many times, haven't I, Tash?
It's ridiculous.
Lots of people are feeling when I brought that up with the RCN recently, and they disagree. But I mean, this has been going on for many, many years, and it's just got horrendous in the last 2. And I'm not seeing any good reports anywhere, to be honest.
No, it's terrifying, the thought of being in hospital, isn't it?
Ones that believe in them aren't getting any great feedback at all. And some of the things that I'm hearing and the stories are pretty horrendous. I'm glad not to be a part of it, to be absolutely sure.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it?
And you're part of bringing on something new and something that's going to work and something that's not corrupted. So, you know, I think
it's exciting, isn't it? Exciting times.
Yeah. And you've been through so much, and yet you've come out with positives at the end of it. You haven't let it destroy you. You've actually used it to fuel changing things for the better.
It almost, anyone else that thinks like, you know, they can't cope, or their world's about to end. Trust me, I even got to that point where I thought, God, my children might be better off without me, because it's causing them so many problems. But no, things change. Always keep that hope. Try and find help and support is all I can say. There is support and help out there for sure, that really, really does work. I mean, solution focused clinical therapy is amazing for PTSD, trauma and abuse and things. So, you know, please go and find some real help, and, you know, don't give in, because that's what they want.
Exactly. Wow.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Claire. You're an absolute inspiration.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, any one of the many things you've been through could have floored somebody completely, and you've just got back up, and you've kept going, and you've kept going, and you've got your children back, which is a really heartening thing for other people that are trying to get their children back.
Incredible.
We will take what you've told us, and we will, you know, pass that on to people. They'll watch the interview anyway, but also, you know, we'll put your links below for what you are doing, because you're offering people something that's actually holistic healthcare, which is what it should be, isn't it?
Looking at the whole person, mind, spirit and body.
Exactly. Because we're all free, aren't we?
We'll help them in every area of their life for sure. Definitely.
Excellent.
That's fantastic.
Well,
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Claire, and send us your links.
Bye.